best sewing machine. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Today I'm really looking forward to showing you this sewing machine. This sewing machine is a true joy to use because you can sew any type of fabric, even jersey and very thick fabrics. In addition to many general and decorative stitches, it also has an overlock stitch. My lovely colleague Angelica and I want to show you all the things it can do. Hello, Angelica.
Hello, Monica.
Welcome. Okay, Angelica, let's start with the spool first of all.
Of course.
That's the first thing that you have to do once you have decided on the fabric and the colour, is to make sure that you also choose the right colour for the spool as well. Angelica will show us just how easy that is.
Exactly. First I wind the thread around the spool a few times.
Yes.
Then I put it on the spindle on top.
Mm-hmm.
And click it out.
Yes, while you wind the spool, I'll explain the special feature. Here, you no longer need to stop the needle or even turn a wheel anymore. Instead, the machine does this automatically. The moment you click the spool in place, the machine switches on and the foot is switched off. And now we'll show you the next step, which is how to sew a buttonhole on.
Exactly.
Right. I'm looking forward to this because you're going to use coloured thread. So for me, this is also like a small decorative stitch or a small decorative seam. Angelica is now threading the needle. This is an extremely simple process. Naturally, our instruction manual also explains all of this here. It explains everything you need to know in great detail. However, this machine is extremely easy to use. I'm really impressed because you can wind the spool in a matter of moments. You thread it. As you can see, we take the front off.
Exactly.
You put the spool in the capsule. Then thread the thread through again.
Pull the thread through here. It spools easily.
Easily as well. By pulling on it, you can also see that it is properly on the spool.
So now I put it in here.
It works.
Yes.
Exactly. You can hear a small click, then you know your capsule is in properly. Then we'll bring up the lower thread and lay both to the rear.
So now we just have to replace the foot.
Yes. Now I'll give it to you. This is the right foot, the foot for our buttonhole.
Exactly.
Here you have a good view of the markings on the side. They indicate the size of your buttonhole. If you need a different size or shape hole, then simply draw the hole on the fabric by laying a button on the fabric and making a small marking around it with a pencil.
On the fabric, exactly.
Yes.
So,
great. This should be able to move a little.
Back on.
Put it back on again.
Exactly. So we have chosen denim as our fabric, which is a very heavy fabric. But the machine can work with it easily. So I'll put it under here and then push the foot towards the front until it corresponds to the length of my buttonhole. Like that.
Yeah. And away you go.
Exactly. Now, but first of all, I have to turn this here.
Angelica is adjusting the machine now. There are 4 different steps for sewing the buttonhole. First, the cross seam, down, another cross seam, and then we finish off with the vertical seam.
Exactly.
Good.
So we have 2 sides.
Yes.
And then the cross seam.
Exactly. We got that finished very, very quickly, and I really think it looks great, especially here on the denim.
Now I'll sew the seam at the bottom.
Great,
So,
now you switch it over again.
That's right. Then I'll follow the same path back.
So that it closes the buttonhole. Ah, great. Yes.
So,
You can see it well.
and now the second seam.
Exactly. In just 4 steps. And finished.
Wonderful. Raise the needle again.
Raise the foot.
Now let's try this fantastic and practical cutter.
It really is amazingly practical, right at hand. You pull it out.
Exactly.
And then up.
With a pair of embroidery scissors, you can now simply cut out the buttonhole.
Up to the top seam, might as well.
Exactly.
Here you see you could also cut this out as well.
Like
just in
this.
case you're not sure enough.
Then stop 1/2 millimeter before.
Yes.
So then.
Right. So, now you can see we have 2 perfectly sewn buttonholes. The next thing we'd like to show you is one of our many decorative stitches. We said that we'd use a half moon stitch, and because you've already set up this wonderful red thread, we'll use that. This is a decorative stitch. You can also use it on the sleeve of a blouse, on a blanket, or on lovely placemats. for yourself or as a present. So this really is a fantastic stitch.
Exactly.
Angelica, I see you're changing the foot again.
Yes.
To the normal sewing foot.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
This time I'm going to use the green fabric. The red thread will show up really well.
Yes.
So...
You set everything up again?
Exactly.
Great.
In this case it is...
The decorative stitch.
Stitch 1. Then here I have the center position for the needle.
The wheels on the top are where you adjust the settings, and everything is described again on the front of the machine as well. Great. That's a wonderful decorative stitch. Okay, I can imagine sleeves that would really look fantastic. I think we could probably curve the stitch a little more, Angelica.
Definitely.
You can now adjust this just the way you want it, whether you want a big curve or perhaps only a small one. That really would look very pretty on the end of your sleeve, for example. As I said, you can really use it for everything. Blankets, pillows.
Exactly, for decoration.
Yes, you can also use it for decoration as well. That's great. So, Angelica, zips are also another highlight of this, sewing machine. So now let's demonstrate this for our viewers, because some people are quite apprehensive about zips, especially me.
Yes.
I was never able to sew on a zip, but with this machine I've discovered that it's no problem at all.
Exactly. This is...
A special foot again, which you're attaching there.
Yes.
We've already prepared one side for you, and now we'll sew up the next side as well, so that you can see just how simple it is and above all how good it looks.
Use A.
That's wonderful.
Stitch.
Mm-hmm.
So the first side is already sewn on, and I can close up the second seam.
Yeah. So now you've seen just how easy it is to replace the feet as well. That is, you no longer have to waste time using a screwdriver. Instead, you can exchange them extremely quickly, and now...
Now I have...
You're locking it?
Exactly. With a reverse button, I've locked it. So reverse forwards.
Forwards, reverse.
And forwards again.
Yes, this is another highlight of this sewing machine. You can sew seams with a forwards and a reverse stitch. The button is also mounted on the front. You simply press the button and the sewing machine sews forward and back. A fantastic feature.
So now I will sew this. It runs really well, doesn't it?
It runs through easily. The machine is also quiet, which is pleasant. One thing I've also noticed, Angelica, is the light. Very practical. You won't strain your eyes.
Exactly, because the sewing area is very well lit.
That is very well lit.
So
and now
I need to pull the zipper down.
Yes. That's why you've raised the foot a little.
And then the sewing foot won't fit past that.
Yes, of course.
Sometimes you have to do this while you are sewing. So
Great.
leave the needle in the material and then it's easy to turn the fabric.
Yes, exactly.
And then you can stay
and
in
the
a
material
line.
doesn't slip away and you can keep on sewing. Oh, wonderful.
So at the end, again we sew the seam using the reverse setting.
Great.
All
Wow,
done.
that
Raise
took
the needle.
no time at all. Just fantastic.
So here we also have this great thread trimmer.
Great. That's great. The zip works perfectly, as you can see. I'll unzip it so that our viewers can have a look at it as well. I have to say, we managed to sew on a zip in only a few minutes, which would normally be extremely difficult to do. Lovely. So, now we have another highlight which we absolutely have to show you, the twin needle. The twin needle is particularly useful when we need to sew very stretchy materials. For example, when sewing a hem. Angelica will show us how. Have you got our twin needle, Angelica?
There it is.
There it is, exactly. Naturally, this comes with the machine.
Exactly.
Here you can also see just how quick and easy it is to change the needles. This is especially important for extremely stretchy materials because otherwise the seam would eventually tear.
Yes, exactly.
Right. This time you've chosen a lovely pink material.
Exactly, and this time we will use blue thread.
Yes.
That is why I'm threading it now. This is a stretchy material. Okay, now we want to show you this again.
Right.
Using the twin needle. You will all have seen this on your t-shirt. The seam ironed flat, and now I will sew a twin seam on here.
Yes. Naturally, there's lots more we could do with it. Using the twin needle, you can also make beautiful decorative stitches, like the half moon we showed you. You can sew the half moon stitch with a twin needle as well. And as the name says, twin needle also means two threads. Now we'll replace the blue thread. We will also use a second roll of blue thread for the top as well. It also looks extremely elegant when you use two colours, for example, when you use light blue or dark blue. So now we put the second spool on there. This is just so easy to thread and it's very clearly arranged.
Yes.
You can see exactly what step you have to do next. You thread it through the top and only have to put it through the eyelets. So, as we said, the twin needle is an absolute must for stretchy materials. So you can see the parallel seams on one side, and on the other side you can see only one seam. Then regardless of how much the t-shirt is stretched, it always goes back to its original shape. Great, so you've pulled up the lower thread?
Exactly.
Put it to the rear and then close up our sewing machine. Now you change the position and the stitch again.
So,
the foot stays. You don't need to change it this time. Our standard foot.
we have clear markings here, especially when sewing hems,
Yes.
showing where to place the material. Do you see the lines here?
Oh yeah, just like a ruler.
Then you can choose the line which matches the hem's width, so that it sews up properly.
And one more time. Naturally, you can sew up a seam with any type of needle. And I think this is very important and more practical than having to thread the needle all over again and having to sew everything again.
So, yes, we have this
Now we
great...
can, yes. The thread cutter is always to hand. You get used to it in minutes. Good.
So, you're welcome.
Thank you, Angelica. So, if you take a look, you can see how well the seam has turned out. It looks great, and it can also be stretched. We tried this out beforehand, and it really is so important when you use a stretchy material like this so that the seam stretches as well. This is what the back looks like.
Yes.
Our comprehensive range of accessories is also worth mentioning. There are a few that I would like to point out, especially this style here is for the bluff edge.
Yes.
So, if you want to sew a seam on a pair of trousers, but you don't want to see the seam on one side, then you use the bluff edge. And that is another real highlight. In addition to the buttonholes, I would also like to mention the needle plate as well. You can use this both as a needle and a darning plate.
Exactly.
So, if you have a small hole in a pair of trousers or a blouse and don't want to place anything underneath, then please make sure you use this plate, as I've tried it out myself, and it's fantastic. You can't see anything as long as the thread and the fabric
Match
colours
properly, right.
match properly.
Exactly.
Yes, exactly. Yes, really great. Ladies and gentlemen, that was our sewing machine from Silvercrest. Exclusively at Lidl. Naturally with a GS seal for tested safety, with the TÜV seal for user-friendliness, tested for harmful substances, practically tested and endurance tested. All this with a 3-year guarantee, where quality is cheaper.